Welcome to Short Documentaries. Today we embark on an in-depth journey through the rich and diverse history of Canada, a land of stunning landscapes, vibrant cultures, and a unique journey through time. Long before European settlers arrived, the land we now call Canada was home to a multitude of Indigenous peoples, including the Inuit, First Nations, and these diverse communities thrived across vast territories, each with its own distinct languages, traditions, and governance. European explorers such as Jacques Cartier and Samuel de Champlain ventured into these lands in the 15th and 16th centuries, claiming territories for France and later Britain. The struggle between French and English interests significantly shaped Canada's early development. French settlers established settlements in present-day Quebec and the Maritimes, while the English colonies grew in what is now Ontario and the Atlantic provinces. This rivalry culminated in the Seven Years' War 1756 to 1763, with the British gaining control of New France. In 1867, the British North America Act united the colonies of Canada, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia into the Dominion of Canada. This marked the birth of a new nation, with John A. Macdonald becoming its first prime minister. Over the years, Canada expanded westward, incorporating Manitoba, British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, and the Northwest Territories. Conflicts between Indigenous peoples and European settlers were frequent during the colonial period, with alliances shifting between various Indigenous nations and the French and British. These conflicts often centered around control of land and resources. The War of 1812, fought between British North America and the United States, had significant implications for Canada's future. The Battle of Queenston Heights in 1812 was a key victory for the British and their Indigenous allies, solidifying Canada's defense against American invasion. The rebellions of 1837–38 in Upper and Lower Canada were pivotal in the struggle for responsible government and increased autonomy from British colonial rule. Leaders like Louis Joseph Papineau and William Lyon Mackenzie played crucial roles in advocating for political reform. Late 19th century saw rapid industrialization in Canada, facilitated by the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885. This transcontinental railway linked the provinces from coast to coast, opening up new opportunities for trade, commerce, and migration. Canada's participation in World War I, particularly the Battle of Vimy Ridge in 1917, was a defining moment in Canadian history. The Canadian Corps' successful capture of the ridge demonstrated Canada's military prowess and fostered a sense of national identity. The 1920s were a time of economic growth and cultural change in Canada. The decade saw advancements in technology, infrastructure, and social policies, laying the groundwork for the modern Canadian society. The Great Depression of the 1930s brought widespread unemployment and economic hardship to Canada. The government responded with relief measures and public works programs, while Canadians endured poverty and unemployment. Canada's involvement in World War II from 1939 to 1945 was marked by significant contributions to the Allied cause. Canadian forces participated in key battles, including the Battle of the Atlantic and the D-Day invasion, while the home front supported the war effort through industrial production and rationing. After World War II, Canada experienced a period of post-war reconstruction and economic growth. The baby boom, technological advancements, and increased immigration shaped the country's society and economy. The 1960s marked a period of significant social, cultural, and political change in Quebec. The Quiet Revolution saw Quebecois assert their identity and push for greater autonomy, leading to the rise of the Quebec sovereignty movement. In the late 20th century, Canada adopted multiculturalism as an official policy, recognizing the diversity of its population. The Official Languages Act of 1969 established English and French as the official languages of Canada, reflecting its bilingual heritage. With the patriation of its constitution from Britain, the Constitution Act 1982 included the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, guaranteeing fundamental rights and freedoms for all Canadians. For over a century, Indigenous children in Canada were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in residential schools. These institutions, funded by the government and operated by churches, aimed to eradicate Indigenous cultures and assimilate children into Euro-Canadian society. From the late 1800s until the 1990s, approximately 150,000 First Nations and Inuit children were subjected to this system. The policy was brutal: to kill the Indian in the child. We were torn from our families, our languages, our traditions. It felt like being imprisoned. Speaking our language or practicing our culture was strictly forbidden. Life in residential schools was harsh and often cruel. Children endured physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Many suffered from neglect and malnutrition. Thousands never returned home. It's estimated that over 6,000 children died while attending residential schools. The true number remains unknown, but their loss is deeply mourned by their communities. The legacy of residential schools lingers. It has caused profound intergenerational trauma. Families were fractured, languages lost, cultures suppressed. Our communities are still healing. In 2008, the Canadian government issued a formal apology. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established to document the survivors' stories and promote healing and reconciliation. Today, Indigenous communities are reclaiming their languages, traditions, and identities. Their resilience is evident as they continue to seek justice and healing. The echoes of silence from the past must be heard, but they do not define the future. The story of residential schools is one of pain and resilience. As we remember, we also move forward towards healing, justice, and reconciliation. If you or someone you know is affected by residential schools, help is available. Please contact the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419. As Canada faces new challenges in the 21st century, such as environmental sustainability, economic diversification, and social equality, the spirit of innovation and collaboration continues to shape the country's future. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey through the history of Canada. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from around the world, only on short documentaries.